What's good, y'all? So we gotta have a discussion that's been plaguing the Dragon Ball community for ages. I'm talking eons, bruh. Ancient history. And that's this Goku being a bad dad debate, or more likely a meme at this point. And I know I've been guilty of it myself, and I know I've had 8 million videos talking about how I want to say something about it. So now I'm finally going there so I can stop lying to y'all. And we're gonna do it hopefully from a place that's a little bit different than the shallow kind of meme nonsense that gets talked about, and try to do it from the way that we handle stuff over here, you know, from a little bit more of a psychological approach, or just kind of like trying to look at some of the evidence and everything, man. Just a couple different ways to put the perspective together, because what I actually think is really funny about the type of dad that Goku is in that whole debate, I think it 100% depends on what lens you're coming from as far as what makes a person a good dad. And I think that can vary a great deal between Western versus Eastern philosophy even. And I can speak from experience on the Western philosophy approach, you know, and even then it's not a monolith. I can't say that this is the values that all of us have, but I grew up within this culture, and and on the Eastern side, I can only use what I know from just personal research and being a weeb and just like that kind of stuff and what I understand. But I think that there's a lot of overlap in the headaches about this discussion, because people are kind of coming at this from different angles about what makes a person a good dad. So when I think about like the Western approach and everything, right, I think that it's easy for us to have a tendency to see Goku as a garbage, absent ass father, you know, because especially as time is going on, you know, let's just talk about the evidence, right? Because from certain folks' perspective, he's frequently abandoning his children, you know, to either throw hands or to be dead. And a lot of the times it's not with a proper goodbye or any types of emotional support. I think about him running off with the homie Oob at the end of the series in just the most unceremonious way possible. My man leaving Chi-Chi at home to do the heavy lifting constantly, not bringing no types of money home for the longest. Just kind of you know, showing up when like the world is in danger to train and everything, and looking at the way that he encourages Gohan to be a fighter, you know, that infamous moment of him kind of throwing the Senzu being at Cell, and the expectations that he placed upon Gohan to be the savior when Piccolo was trying to tell him that his kid ain't built like that, and him kind of finally having that epiphany. But I think about Western culture's fatherhood ideals, you know, definitely not the ones that we meet, but the ideals that we have set up, especially as time is going on, like the modern age has entered the picture. We kind of expect fathers to be more emotionally in tune at this point, right? Be an active part of the parenting in the same way that the mom is and everything, and be able to do stuff like provide like that emotional and developmental support, help them with their education, bond with your kid, be like a role model that's very present. If you're looking at Goku from this lens, well, that's where you get the bomb allegations, brother. That's where that's gonna come from. He could be judged from that standpoint as either being negligent, man, just being like no child support payment, having piece of trash is what some people can kind of meme him up and look at him as. But if you look at it from the other side, if you look from a different values-based perspective, I think maybe like the Eastern cultural context, and I can't speak on it like now or really even back then. I ain't live over there, but I know that culturally there's a lot of differences and everything, right? And I think about like Japanese culture, and especially around the time Dragon Ball was created, you know, back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, like this was a different time period in general. And I've had other videos that I've done kind of related to this topic. What I found was there's just a different value system at play. You know, a lot of the times in that culture, you kind of had like the salary man kind of system almost, right? Where you had this dad that was working to be the provider, excuse me, is very self-sacrificial, and he gives everything to be able to allow his family to live a good life. You know, the stoic provider. The father works, or in this case, fights, throws hands, sacrifices for the family at the expense of emotional involvement. You know, they're not necessarily there for all the events or birthdays or sporting stuff all the time, but they see their role in a different way. They're supposed to do what they need to put that food on the table, to fight and make sure that their family has everything that they need. And the absence, the way that the absence is taken is, I feel, different as well, where there might be an absence there, but it's respected, because they're seen as being absent because of their work. They're absent because they're trying to provide, and just like the work culture over there and stuff, being idealized in certain ways. And I can't speak on if it's the same way now, but at least for a time, this was kind of the cultural expectation that was set up. And I can't help but feel with Toriyama sensei, him coming from that culture, just everything that he's like his own personal experiences, and some of that didn't leak out, in his characters and penmanship, as it does with any artist and the worlds and characters that you create. And just even in shonen anime, when you're talking about values, self-discipline and stuff, self-discipline, self-improvement, striving, and kind of talking about the role of the individual more so than like the family unit as a whole being a priority. And you kind of get this dichotomy where you have Goku, and we kind of see him as this pillar of strength and good, and especially I think about over here in America, where we have that ally to good, nightmare to you kind of take on Goku and everything. But he's not meant to model ideal parenting, like, and especially when you're talking about in the Western, like maybe kind of Americanized sense of it. He's a heroic archetype, right? He's got his duty, his simplicity. He cares about his family and everything like that, but it's more about like selfless action, and he's not necessarily going to be showing up in regards to emotional connections the same way. And in the previous video with Trunks and Gohan, I think that's what this is what makes Dragon Ball peak, is that you have these little layers of complexity. I think that this is what makes Goku and Gohan's relationship so interesting, is because you do have they're so different. You have Gohan, who's sensitive, he's a scholarly, nerdy academic kid. My man like loves peace, and not to say that he hates fighting necessarily. I think even Gohan's a more nuanced character than we like to give him credit for. It's not that he hates throwing hands. It seems like when he's even talked about like loving martial arts and loving growth and things like that, but he has a way different relationship to it than his dad does. They're very different in regards to like what keeps him coming back to the martial arts. And for Gohan, probably could have used, some of that emotional support or like affirmation, because he's much more earthling than he is Saiyan and everything, right? And Goku views a lot of stuff through that lens of like warrior potential. Again, not saying he doesn't give a crap, he wants to put his kid in harm's way, but he sees the potential for greatness within Gohan in a way that he understands his language, which is that of throwing hands, and their priorities. It creates confusion, like there's a bit of Goku kind of projecting his wants and needs on Gohan a little bit in that wake up call that kind of occurs in the Cell Saga, and then just watching Gohan as the series progresses slowly mature into his own human being outside of what anybody else expects for him. And that's why I think his arc is really cool, watching him evolve into somebody that realizes he wants to be strong, he wants to be a fighter, but that's not the entirety of his identity. And I think it would be a failure in writing if it was. Like, he's never been that character. So as we're moving towards our conclusion, man, we got Goku. What he prioritizes, he prioritizes growth, challenge, self-improvement, protecting the earth, right? He does prioritize sacrifice, trying to pass on strength to the next generation and everything like that, but he doesn't prioritize emotionally connecting with people in that way. The best way you're gonna get him to emotionally connect with you is by boxing with him, and then he can kind of understand what kind of person you are, man. He's I guess he wouldn't be a conventionally super good dad if we're talking like Western emotional standards and that kind of stuff, but he's definitely not this garbage ass bum that he gets made out to be as well. He's not like evil or uncaring. He just he loves a different way, man. He loves through action legacy, like not words, not even a physical presence. He represents something different than that. There's more complexity to that than what the memes kind of showcase. There's kind of a tension, you know, between like him being a heroic figure that we kind of make him out to be in Western culture versus the way that he's perceived other places, and maybe the way that the character was supposed to be authentically characterized and the value system of the people and place that he came from. It's a cultural thing. So with that being said, I'm out of here, man. Let me know how y'all feel in the comments, man, when it comes to this Goku good dad versus bad dad debate. Am I hella off base? Am I just yapping into the skies like the old man I am? Let me know if you're interested, man. Again, members only videos, early access. There's some exclusive content on there and everything. And I just appreciate y'all rocking with me the way that you do. And I hope we can continue to drop just a different style of Dragon Ball videos on folks' heads out here, man. I think we need something a little bit different every now and then than some of the episode recaps and just some of the stuff that we're used to, man. I think it's fun to have these kind of conversations. So I'll be catching y'all on the next one. Appreciate you hanging out with me.